Pregnant with her third child, Hell Angel's woman lost everything. The cabin she found hid a miracle. The old woman took in 2 freezing bikers' children. The next day, 150 Hell's Angels were at her door. No one in the mountain town of Briar Hollow would ever forget how that sentence became the beginning of a miracle. The snowstorm came early that year, swallowing the forest roads and erasing tire tracks within minutes. Mara Kestrel pulled her jacket tighter as she guided her motorcycle off the highway and into the trees. Her hands were numb, her stomach, round with her third child, ached with a dull, frightened throb. 3 months earlier, Mara had everything: a small rented house, a job at a roadside diner, and a promise from her partner that he'd be back before the baby came. Then the diner closed, the house was taken, and the promise never kept. Now she was alone, 8 months pregnant, and riding toward nowhere. When the engine finally died, the silence felt louder than any roar. Snow drifted down like ash. Mara whispered to the baby inside her, promising warmth she wasn't sure she could find. That was when she saw the cabin. It stood crooked among the pines, smoke barely curling from a rusted chimney. Light glowed weakly behind a frost-bitten window. With the last of her strength, Mara knocked. The door opened to reveal an old woman with silver braids and eyes sharp as winter stars. "My name is Elowen Pike," the woman said after a long look at Mara's swollen belly. "You're freezing. Come in before the mountain decides otherwise." Inside, the cabin smelled of pine resin and soup. 2 children sat near the fire, a boy and a girl, no older than 8 and 6, wrapped in oversized blankets. Their cheeks were red, their boots soaked. "They wandered up here before dark," Elowen said softly. "Said their father broke down on the pass." Mara felt her chest tighten. She knew that fear, the waiting, the not knowing. That night, the storm howled like a living thing. Elowen fed them all, set out dry clothes, and said little. The children, Rowan and Tamsin, fell asleep holding hands by the fire. Mara woke before dawn to pain sharp enough to steal her breath. Elowen was already there, steady hands guiding her through the fear. "This cabin's seen births before," she murmured. "It remembers how." By sunrise, the storm broke, and so did something else. Mara's daughter arrived screaming and strong, her tiny fists clenched like she was already fighting the world. Elowen wrapped her in a faded quilt stitched with strange symbols and whispered a blessing so old it felt carved into the wood itself. "This place," Elowen said, eyes shining, "gives back when it's needed." By noon, the sound came. Engines. Not 1 or 2, but dozens. Then hundreds. The forest trembled as 150 motorcycles rolled into the clearing, black leather stark against the white snow. Patches gleamed on their backs. Faces hard, eyes searching. The children ran to the door. Dad, their father, Briggs Hale, fell to his knees when he saw them safe. Tears froze on his beard as he hugged them, then looked up at Elowen and Mara standing behind her. "We thought we lost them," he said hoarsely. The whole club rode through the night. The Hell's Angels removed their helmets, one by one. Silence followed. Respect. When Briggs learned what had happened in that cabin, his voice broke again. "You saved my kids," he said to Elowen. Then to Mara, holding her newborn close. "And you brought life into the world in the middle of a storm." That day, no engines roared in anger. They chopped wood, repaired the cabin roof, left supplies enough for a year. And when they rode away, Briggs pressed a folded paper into Mara's hand, an address, a job, and a promise kept by an entire brotherhood. Weeks later, as spring crept into the mountains, Elowen stood on the porch watching Mara load her bike. "You don't belong to the cold anymore," the old woman said. Mara looked back at the cabin, the place where she had lost everything and found more than she ever dreamed. "Neither do you," she replied. Elowen smiled. "I belong to the moments between storms." As Mara rode away with her children's future ahead of her, the cabin settled back into the trees, quiet, waiting. Because miracles, like kindness, don't vanish. They hide, until someone needs them most.